Florida, a land of contrasts, a paradise of sunshine, beaches, and endless lakes. A place where families vacation, where fishermen cast their lines, and where boaters drift peacefully across still waters. But beneath that beauty lies something ancient, something powerful. For over 200 million years, alligators have ruled these waters. Silent, patient, perfect hunters that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. They lurk just beneath the surface, their eyes and nostrils breaking the waterline like shadows of another world. Most of the time, they are unseen, unheard, ignored. But when their paths cross with ours, the results can be catastrophic. On May 5th, 2025, what began as a calm, sunlit canoe trip in central Florida turned into a nightmare no one could have imagined. 61-year-old Cynthia Diekema, visiting from Michigan, set out onto Lake Kissimmee with her husband. The water was calm, the air was warm. It was supposed to be a day of peace, a moment of escape into nature. But nature had other plans. As their canoe drifted gently across the lake, it passed over something massive. Hidden in just 2.5 feet of water, an 11-foot predator waited, a creature older than history itself. What happened next would leave Florida in shock, and a family shattered forever. This is the terrifying true story of the fatal alligator attack that claimed the life of Cynthia Diekema and forced an entire state to confront the danger that swims just beneath the surface. It was May in central Florida, a warm spring afternoon when the air was heavy with the smell of water and cypress trees. Lake Kissimmee stretched wide and quiet, its glassy surface broken only by the occasional ripple of fish or the wing beat of a heron gliding overhead. For Cynthia and her husband, this was paradise. They had chosen the lake for its beauty, its peace, a chance to paddle away from the noise of the world and slip into nature's silence. The canoe moved gently, the paddles dipping rhythmically into the water. Each stroke pushed them farther into the vast lake, where tall grasses swayed at the edges and Spanish moss dangled like curtains from the trees. To any outsider, it was the perfect Florida scene. A couple enjoying the outdoors, a calm, quiet day on the water, a memory being made. But Florida's waters are never truly empty. They are alive, and they are watched. Beneath the surface, hidden in just 2.5 feet of water, an ancient predator lay still. It blended perfectly with the muddy bottom, its armored body motionless, its powerful tail coiled like a spring. Only its dark eyes and nostrils, just breaking the surface, betrayed its presence. The Diekemas had no reason to fear. No warning signs marked the danger below. To them, it was just another peaceful day. But in the calm of Lake Kissimmee, the line between beauty and horror is razor-thin. Because when you paddle these waters, you're not just a visitor. You are entering the domain of the alligator. And down there, waiting in silence, was an 11-foot, 4-inch giant, a predator that had survived since the age of the dinosaurs. For now, it watched. For now, it waited. But the moment the canoe drifted too close, everything would change. Before we go further, pause for a moment and think about what we've seen so far. A calm afternoon, a beautiful lake, and yet, danger hidden just below the surface. Stories like this are not just about tragedy. They are about awareness, and that awareness can save lives. So here's how you can help. First, subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you won't just get more stories like this. You'll become part of a community that believes in respecting nature and learning from it. Second, like this video. A simple click, but it tells the world that spreading safety and awareness matters. And finally, share this story. Share it with friends, family, anyone who might one day step into Florida's waters. Because the more people who know the truth, the fewer tragedies we'll see. The canoe glided softly, the sound of paddles dipping into water echoing in the silence. To Cynthia and her husband, the lake seemed calm, almost too calm. No warning signs, no movement, just stillness. But under the glassy surface, that calmness shattered. The canoe's shadow drifted directly over the massive form of an alligator, 11 feet, 4 inches long, armored in dark scales, built like a living tank, its eyes lifted, its body coiled. For hours, it had been resting motionless in the shallows, perfectly camouflaged in the muddy water. And then, in a split second, its world was disturbed. With explosive power, the gator lunged upward. The water detonated around the canoe, sending waves and spray in every direction. The fragile vessel tipped sideways, then snapped completely over. Cynthia and her husband were hurled into the shallow water. Their paddles floated away. The canoe bobbed uselessly upside down. Panic took hold instantly. Gasping, splashing, the husband shouted her name, his voice breaking through the chaos. But before he could reach her, the unthinkable happened. Cynthia fell hard against something solid beneath the surface, the rough, ridged back of the predator itself. And in that instant, the alligator struck. Its jaws swung upward and clamped down on her torso with crushing force. The sound, a muffled crack beneath the water, told her husband what she could not. She was caught. The beast thrashed, its powerful tail whipping through the water like a club. And then it began to spin. This was the death roll, one of the most violent moves in the animal kingdom. The gator twisted its entire body in a frenzy, dragging Cynthia beneath the surface. The water boiled with bubbles and mud as her body was whipped around, again and again. Her husband lunged toward her. He grabbed at her arm, screaming her name, pulling with every ounce of strength he had. But the alligator was stronger, infinitely stronger. With every spin, Cynthia was wrenched from his grip, pulled deeper under the churning water. Imagine it. Waist-deep water, so close to safety, yet utterly powerless. This was not a long struggle. It was brutal, sudden, final. In seconds, the water went still again. The alligator was gone, and with it, Cynthia's body. Her husband stood frozen, chest heaving, water dripping from his face, staring at the ripples fading on the surface. He had tried, he had fought, but against an 11-foot predator that had survived unchanged for 200 million years, there was nothing he could do. One moment, he was paddling with the woman he loved. The next, he was alone, surrounded by silence, in a lake that had swallowed her whole. And in that moment, Lake Kissimmee went from a place of peace to a place of tragedy. The peaceful waters of Lake Kissimmee were forever changed that day. For hours, the shoreline filled with flashing lights, sirens, and the hushed voices of first responders. Park rangers stood side by side with deputies, their eyes fixed on the dark waters, waiting for signs of the predator that had struck so suddenly. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC, wasted no time. Within hours, skilled alligator trappers were on scene. These weren't just ordinary men with nets. They were experts who understood the patience, precision, and danger it takes to hunt a reptile as powerful as this. The lake, once calm, became a battlefield of sorts. Boats crisscrossed the water, scanning for bubbles, ripples, anything that might give away the creature's location. Locals who had gathered on the shore watched in silence, shaken by what had happened to Cynthia only moments before. And then they spotted it, a massive shadow gliding just beneath the surface. With careful movements, the trappers closed in. The alligator was lured, caught, and finally hauled ashore. The beast measured 11 feet, 4 inches, a true apex predator. There was no hesitation in what came next. For the safety of everyone around the lake, the decision was made. The alligator would be euthanized. It was a grim ending, but a necessary one. Because in Florida, when a gator learns to see humans as prey, the balance between man and nature is broken, and lives hang in the balance. But even with the predator gone, the damage was already done. A family was shattered. A husband left in shock, having witnessed the unthinkable. Friends and loved ones suddenly faced the silence left behind by Cynthia's absence. This wasn't just another alligator attack. It became a wake-up call for the entire state of Florida. A stark reminder of what can happen when humans and wild predators cross paths. In the weeks that followed, the FWC launched a statewide safety initiative called GatorWise. The campaign was built around one simple truth: awareness saves lives. They urged people to remember: never swim outside designated areas, never feed wild alligators, and never assume a body of water in Florida is free of danger. GatorWise wasn't about fear. It was about respect. Respect for the prehistoric predators that have ruled Florida's waters for millions of years, long before humans ever set foot here. And that respect could mean the difference between life and death. Cynthia's tragedy will never be forgotten. But through awareness, education, and vigilance, her story can save others from the same fate. If you've made it this far, you already understand the weight of Cynthia's story. Awareness is the strongest tool we have against tragedies like this. First, subscribe. By subscribing, you stay informed and connected to real stories that remind us of the hidden dangers in nature and the lessons they carry. Next, like. When you like this video, you help push it forward, ensuring more people see it and learn to respect the wilderness that surrounds them. Finally, share. Share this story with your friends, your family, anyone who loves the outdoors. Because sometimes, a single video shared at the right time can save a life. Florida is a paradise. Sunshine, lakes, rivers, swamps. It's a landscape where beauty and danger live side by side. And in the shadows of that beauty lurks a predator that has been here for over 37 million years, the American alligator. Today, Florida is home to more than 1.3 million alligators. That means whether you're boating, fishing, swimming, or simply walking near the water's edge, chances are one of these silent reptiles is closer than you think. They occupy all 67 counties in Florida, living in nearly every lake, pond, river, canal, and wetland. They are not just part of the environment. They are the environment. Now, here's the truth. Fatal attacks are rare. But rare does not mean impossible. From 1948 through 2024, Florida recorded 487 unprovoked bites, 339 major injuries, and 27 fatalities. These are not random numbers. Each one represents a life-altering encounter. Let's look closer. In 2023 alone, there were 23 reported alligator bites, and in 2024, there were 11. Most resulted in injury, some severe, but until Cynthia's death, there hadn't been a fatality in years. That streak ended in the most tragic way possible. So why do these attacks happen? Experts are clear. It's rarely about the gator being aggressive. Instead, it's about human behavior. People swim in places they shouldn't. They let pets splash near the water's edge. They feed wild gators, breaking one of Florida's most important safety laws. Each of these actions erases the natural barrier between people and predators. And when that barrier is gone, tragedy has room to strike. What makes gators so terrifying isn't just their size, but their method of attack. Unlike sharks or snakes, alligators are ambush predators. They don't warn. They don't circle. They wait in silence, blending perfectly with the water. And when the moment comes, they explode forward with shocking speed, often faster than the human eye can register. Once their jaws snap shut, the victim is caught in one of the strongest bites in the animal kingdom. Over 2,000 pounds of crushing force. And then comes the infamous move, the death roll. A violent spin designed to tear flesh and disorient prey. For animals, and tragically, for humans, survival becomes almost impossible. But here's the other side. Gators don't roam the waters searching for humans to attack. They are not mindless killers. In fact, most gators avoid people whenever they can. Almost every recorded attack traces back to a simple fact. We forget that Florida waters belong first to the gators. That's the balance of life in this state. A balance that's been in place for millions of years. And while numbers and statistics can help explain it, they don't erase the chilling reality. When a predator strikes without warning, no number, no graph, no safety campaign can offer comfort in that moment. Because when you live in Florida, the gator is always closer than you think. Cynthia Diekema's story is not just a tragedy. It is a legacy. A day that began as a peaceful canoe trip turned into a nightmare. One that changed the lives of her family forever. Her husband, her loved ones, and even the community around Lake Kissimmee. They will never forget that moment. But her story does more than mark a single loss. It leaves behind a powerful message. A reminder that nature is not a playground, but a force. A force that demands respect. Her family's grief, Florida's sorrow. It's something that ripples outward. Each time her name is spoken, each time her story is told, it serves as a warning. A warning to those who live in Florida and to the millions who visit every year. The wild is not to be underestimated. These waters may look calm, they may seem inviting, but beneath the surface is a predator that has survived for millions of years. A creature older than the dinosaurs, a hunter that knows only instinct, not mercy. Cynthia's tragedy forces us to face that truth. It forces us to ask ourselves, are we respecting the wild, or are we forgetting its power? For Florida, this attack was more than statistics, more than just another headline. It was a painful reminder that even with all our knowledge, all our warnings, and all our safeguards, one mistake, one moment, one wrong turn in nature can cost a life. Her story is now part of Florida's history. And while her life was taken too soon, her legacy may save others. Because every person who hears her story, every person who thinks twice before stepping too close to the water's edge, may avoid the same fate. In that way, Cynthia's life still speaks. Her voice carries through tragedy, urging us to respect, to learn, and above all, to never forget that nature always has the final say. If Cynthia's story moved you, if it terrified you, don't let it fade into just another headline. Subscribe for more real stories that uncover the hidden dangers of our world. Like this video if you believe awareness saves lives. Share this story so no one forgets what lurks beneath Florida's waters. Rest in peace, Cynthia Diekema. May her story never be forgotten.